Up, guys? I know the screen ain't the best, but I'm just gonna do it like this because this is all I got because my phone is fucking stupid. Now let's get back to the video. This is what if Issei had the 3 dragon god gears. Now, you might be thinking, but there's only 2 dragon gods in existence. How would he have 3 dragon god gears? And will he even have Drake then? I mean, are you gonna make Drake a dragon god? No, none of that shit. In this version, there are 5 dragon gods in total. There are also 5 heavenly dragons and 5 dragon kings. I'm wondering, why so many extra characters? Because I fucking feel like it. Now, in this version, Tiamat follows Ophis and also Albion, which Validon and Flag are going to be heavenly dragons, which are basically Dragon Albion's siblings. Well, little brothers. And then there's going to be Great Red's younger brother called Crimson, who is, for lack of a better term, he's the weakest of the heavenly dragons, but he's kind of like the smartest. Back to what if. Now, that's just the 5 heavenly dragons. And then for the dragon gods, there is Existence, which is the dragon god of existence. There is Eternity, dragon god of time. Apocalypse, dragon god of, apocalypse. And destruction. There is Great Red, and then there's Ophis, in that order of power. Now, in this version, Ophis is very much, treated like shit by the strongest dragon god of existence. Existence hates Ophis with a burning passion that no one knows why. Because they're the 2 oldest dragons, though. They don't get why they hate each other, though. That's because they were both around when literally everything was created. They've been around since the beginning of time. About 2 days after them came Eternity. And they always hated each other. They didn't know why. This is because Ophis, there was one time that she did something wrong. And even though it was millennia back, she is still hated by Existence. Existence hates how she's basically got infinite, how she's the dragon god of infinity when she's far weaker than him. He doesn't like how Existence is stronger than infinity, but no one seems to care, since she's called the infinite dragon, even though she's far from infinite in power. He calls it bullshit. And he oftentimes will literally threaten to demote her status from Dragon God, because she's the weakest. Thing is, she's not really that much weaker than Great Red. Now, the other Dragon Gods do sympathize with her, because it's bullshit. It's utter bullshit. They treat him, he treats her like shit. They has to scrape off the bottom of his boot. And because he's basically 3 times her size, she can't do shit to him. That's because he is 300 kilometers. While Eternity is, 250. And 200 kilometers goes directly to Apocalypse. And Great Red in his peak was 150. Which I'm going to say he stays 150. Ophis herself was only 100 kilometers. All the heavenly dragons are actually of a relative same size of around 60 kilometers. And all the dragon kings are in the meters, not kilometers. So yeah. But here's where we get back to what if. Now, this is when Issei had to... No, not yet. This is when, on one of the regular days when Ophis is being punished by Existence, Existence said, "You must now mate with me. I don't care how you feel about it." Ophis refused. The first time she'd ever refused one of these orders. And this is going to be an 18 plus because it gets pretty fucking fucked up. He tries forcing himself on Ophis. Now, Ophis is actually with and is the mate of Eternity. If you mess with someone's mate, it doesn't matter if it was a regular-ass dragon's mate. Even if you were a dragon god, doing that is fucked up. And you could be killed by every dragon in existence for doing that. Thing is, Existence didn't think he was going to have any punishment since he's straight up the strongest god. Even the right one behind him isn't able to hurt him very much. This is when Eternity saw what happened. Great Red and Apocalypse did as well, and all the heavenly dragons and dragon kings. Yes, all the heavenly dragons and dragon kings came up. This is when all the heavenly dragons, other than Dragon Albion, grabbed the dragon kings and said, "Come on." Dragon Albion looked at each other, being the strongest two dragon kings, being the closest to be reaching dragon god, since they're both about 5, kilometers, bigger than the rest of them, in the 65-kilometer range. And Drake is even a little bit longer than him, being at 66. This is when they fly forward. And Apocalypse never raised his hand against existence. There's been a few times that Eternity has, and they've had a fucking beast of a fight. Great Red is the only one to have never even tried to raise his hand. Great Red has raised it up to block hits, but that's it. This is when Apocalypse, who straight up cares more about Ophis than he does himself, because Ophis saved his life as a hatchling. Because this is when Ophis was full of emotion. Ophis sees what's about to happen. She's about to get hit as hard as Existence can. And Existence has four blue arms, since he's a giant blue dragon. Existence is threatening Ophis, and Ophis can't do anything against him. This is when he goes to swing with his upper right arm. He goes for the full force swing, just for it to be caught by someone that wasn't even supposed to be in the fight. It was caught by Great Red. And Great Red and Ophis fucking hate each other. Like, they are in no way, shape, or form in good conditions with each other. This is when Great Red said, "Ophis, get out of here now." Ophis, who never takes orders, said, "Yes, Great Red, but you can't fight him. You can't handle him." "I don't give a damn. Get out of here now." Ophis, who has no choice but to listen to this, since she knows she'll die if she stays here, flies away at her full speed. This is when Existence straight up said, "Really, Red, you think you can handle her punishment? Fine, you don't want her to be punished? You'll die here. Besides, we don't need another weakling," kicking Great Red straight in the chest and beating him down to a bloody pulp. He would have gotten away with doing that if Eternity and Apocalypse didn't pick him up and slam him to the earth. This is when God of the Bible looked at what's happening. All the dragons are fighting. He orders every single angel to get the fuck out of there. And then he uses all of his capability to turn the Dragon Slayer sword into a giant blade. In other words, he sized up that sword, but it would go back to normal size in roughly 24 hours. This is when you hear God's words shout out, even loud enough for the dragon gods to hear, saying, "Enough! Red, it's time you took your mantle. It's time you defeated him." Red's never been able to defeat him. May never be able to, since the size of this guy is beyond him. This is when the giant Dragon Slayer blade appeared. Great Red catches it, his eyes open with sheer wrath. This blade, it was his. As he basically roars out and stabs Existence in the chest. Existence laughing this blade off, taking it out and throwing it on the ground. As this is when he straight up got into a full-on fist fight with Great Red and was beating the living shit out of him. Existence doing all he can to kill Great Red, for Eternity to sideswipe him and knock him clean to the ground. And Apocalypse using all of his destruction power and getting him as well. This is when Ophis and all the Dragon Kings, even the Heavenly Dragons, would appear, except for Dragon Albion. And this is when Existence thought, "Oh, I guess Dragon Albion weren't strong enough to show up." Right when you hear this, you hear the loudest roars possible. On the other side of the battlefield, you see Dragon Albion standing, basically flying right above Existence, using their full-powered breath. Now, one of their breath could injure Great Red. Both of them could kill Great Red. This is not Great Red, though. They see this. They're using their full-powered breath attack, which is the strongest attack they have. Strong enough to put them on the level of the dragon gods. This is when the Buddhist god of destruction would show up, the third strongest. Well, the character right beneath the gods, the dragon gods, barely weaker than Ophis. Looking at this says, I guess this does have to happen. Basically starting to walk forward, picking up a scale from existence, and basically chucking it as hard as he could, and calling existence a fucking bully. Existence tries killing him for this. He moves out the way and uses a full blast attack into one of existence's eyes, his left eye being taken out. This is when existence threatens when he beats them, he's killing everyone and stealing their abilities, even turning them into fucking gears. And we're gonna fast forward the fight a little bit. They're fighting for a few minutes. This is when we get to see back in the fight. Existence has his lower left arm and lower right arm in Apocalypse and Eternity's chests, holding them up as a shield. Great Red is being choked out by Existence by his throat with Existence's tail. Existence basically saying, Ophis, you see what you've done, just not listening to me? Now all the others have to die. This is when Tannen, of all people, straight up jumps forward. The only one to have the balls to do this out of any of the Dragon Kings, since none of the others would dare slap a dragon god, much less the strongest dragon god. This is when Tannen jumps forward and uses his Meteor Fall, which is basically his strongest attack. It's straight up turning his body into a meteor, the Blaze Meteor Dragon, flying forward, actually slamming directly into the other eye of Existence. Existence, who's now basically blinded for only a moment. Because while the other eye was taken out, this one was still somewhat okay. Since, he wasn't able to do jack shit to Great Red, and this is being far above that. As this is when Existence is basically killing the two other strongest dragon gods. Noting Great Red without them couldn't swing at him. This is when Great Red yelled, Ophis, I need your help. Ophis, who just walked back in saying, what's up? What is it? What can I do? I want your help. We're gonna have to turn them into gears. This is when God of the Bible would walk back in, with just enough magic left. As the sword shrunk back down to normal size after 24 hours of fighting, he said, I'll help you make them into gears, but I'll be the first to admit, those cannot go in the cycle. Apocalypse would take over anyone who got his gear. And the other two are so strong that any wielder would be blessed with greed. Like they would be forced into greed beyond their imagine with the power they would be given. They couldn't handle it. Hell, Dragon Albion would be too much. At least that's what they're thinking. At least that's what God says out to them. But I will help you get them into gears. After all, we don't need to lose the two strongest beings. The three strongest beings in existence. This is when this kills him. Not completely, but weakens him to the point where he's only on the level of a Mao. By no means is that weak, but it's not what his former strength was. He was stronger than the two heavenly dragons, or in this case, 5 heavenly dragons. But he was weaker than, well, the next rank. I don't know who it was, but still. He couldn't handle the top 3 beings in existence, not even close. But he was able to keep up. This is when we get back to What If. Now this is when Issei flew forward. Not Issei, no. Drake flew forward and actually used everything in his arsenal, even using what he never thought he had to. His absolute boost. This boosts his power beyond what it should be able to, but it will take him out of commission for about a week afterwards. And they're killing Existence. Existence and all of them getting put in gears. Existence seeing the rage and hatred of everyone there, saying the one who hates him the least is perfect. looking at the only heavenly dragon that respects him, saying, "No, too weak, you're the weakest heavenly dragon," as basically calling his own disciple pathetic. Then looking at the only dragon king that respects him, the snake, and what does that get? Calls him pathetic too. Noting neither of them could handle his power, this is when he says, "Perfect." Looking at Albion, using his ability of change existence, he swapped souls with Albion, basically forcing Albion to be stuck in the boot into a small blue, shoe, while Apocalypse was stuck into a green one, and Eternity was stuck into a black gauntlet like the one Issei's wearing in this version. This is when This is when existence would show that it's actually him in Albion's body, since it was hard to, hide. As he tried using the Divide ability, noting he just had his own abilities, but they were all weakened down to this body's strength. Well, that sucks. But no one there was strong enough to defeat him, because everyone was exhausted. The only one who may have enough strength to even stand back up, since they've all been fighting against, him. He went for the one who had the least bit of exhaustion, Albion, who's just been dividing his power. As this is when they see basically all sealed in the gear, as they look and see an almost demonic sight. Albion walking up with black eyes, stabbing clean into Ophis, almost killing her with Divide. This is when all the dividing was stopped when Drake himself flew in at full force. Everything Drake had in this. Basically tackling, existence in Albion's body. Everyone of the existence other than God himself thought this was Drake versus Albion, the fight that got them sealed away. Drake straight up said, "Kill us both if you fucking have to, but I'm not letting him get away with what he did." Everyone thinking he's just really pissed off at Albion for some reason, and they were the best of fucking friends. This has never happened. As it kills Drake as it hurts him to do this, not physically, which he is kind of hurt physically, but it hurts him emotionally to do what he's about to have to do. As he's holding Apocalypse down in Albion's body, it gets cut in half, and Drake does as well, by God holding the strongest dragon-slaying blade. He said, "Put us both into gears, but fix the actual thing." Being that wings were what Albion mainly used, they swapped the souls in those two gears to get back to where they're supposed to be, using both Ophis and Great Red's power, as well as God of the Bible. Noting it took everything they fucking had to, though. As they started coughing, this is when they all kind of started having a struggle trying to even stand up. They just had the biggest fight of existence. Coughing out blood. All of them. Even Ophis, who didn't even do very much fighting compared to everyone else. But this is when they look at those three powerhouse gears. They look at the boosting and dividing gear and say, "God, I want you to put them in the cycle." God of the Bible said, "I will. Don't worry. I know you're quite weakened, and I wish I could give you strength to get back to your former glory, but even I'm too weak to do much. I can tell. Well, it's alright. Don't worry. Don't worry. Everything will be fine. Trust me on that." Alright, now this is when we go over to the gears. This black one being Eternity, having the ability to mess with time. Basically, it's like a boost for every 10 seconds, but instead of, boosting your physical strength, speed, and all that shit, instead, what it does is, every 10 seconds you hear, "Time warp." Time warp, like boost, messes with existence itself in a sense. As basically, your perception of time will change. You will see time, basically 1 second to everyone else is like 2 to you, and it'll keep doubling. They might think that's a shitty gear. In Balance Breaker, you can do it about 200 times. Actually, you can do it about 60 times in a minute, because still the whole every second takes this time to say it. So yeah, it's difficult as shit, but it's doable. This is when we see all three of these gears, which were all put in one area. They noted that if ever needed, they would have to have the Dragon Kings. They would have to have maybe the heavenly dragons or the strongest beings other than themselves, even the Buddhist god, put on these powerhouse gears in an attempt to stop Apocalypse if he ever returns. That is, because he can try to break out. And if anyone ever goes into Kuo, because like that area is off limits for every one of the devils, even fallen angels refuse to go in there. It didn't matter what you were trying to do. If you like got that gear, it should take over your mind, body and soul. It would take over your mind and body. And it would basically become Apocalypse once more. Give it basically trading off and getting its full body back. But thing is, they don't think that'll ever happen because, well, you'd have to be able to get in there, which, while it does call to people, they can't really handle it. You need to have at least a power of full ability to get in. You need to at least be on the level of high-class devil. And this is right, and then we're going to skip right to when Issei just became a devil. He just found out about his ability. The fallen angel not going to him this time. He needs a walk. He just got home. He says, I'm going out on a walk, okay? I'll be back later. His parents being like, okay, fine, don't worry about it. Keep yourself safe. I will. They're freaking out because he's a lot faster, more agile, stronger than he should be. Hell, he can straight up jump a car like it's a joke to him. His punches are a lot fucking stronger than they should be. He can see in the dark. What the hell is happening to him? He's confused as shit. This is when he's starting being called to the area. Rias, who's not allowed to be there, like, she physically can't get there. She is strong enough, but if she goes through that area, it would overwhelm her, and she'd be forced to try putting at least one of the gears on. And if she does that, it could kill her. Either by making her greedy enough to attempt all the power and killing everything, or straight up just taking over her body and killing everything around her. And she never wanted to do that. Neither did anyone else. But thing is, with most of the heavenly dragons, like, sure, Flag and Validon exist, but I forgot what I named the last one. The other one, they kind of just stay to themselves, really. Now, this is when we get to see something terrifying. Issei, he's just drawn to this, as if his own gear is leading him there. But Issei's trying to figure out his abilities. But this is when he's going in too close to the area, his gear pops out in its critical over state. You know, in its first stage of the boosting gear. And after about 10 minutes, which he's figuring out what the hell he can do with punches, since he was punching trees and cracking them, he got the gear and it doubled his strength. He was doing a lot of damage. He's confused as shit. How is he doing this much? He kept punching trees. After 10 minutes of doing this, which he felt just was right, he stopped because his gear evolved, and his punches every 10 seconds would become far more dangerous. Every 10 seconds, they would double in strength, getting to the point where he was strong enough to straight up just shatter trees. This is when he saw these 3 giant oak trees, and right underneath each tree is the gear, is one of the gears. Now Drake is basically assisting him. This is when he could tell which gear had what. The Apocalypse gear was here, the Eternity gear was here, and then Existence gear was there. But Issei, for some reason, was drawn to Existence. But this is when he's punching the tree, and he put a straight-up punch after 4 punches, which he didn't know he was shattering barriers. Each punch was shattering a barrier, which you could feel it. Most beings in existence felt this. Everything felt this. After 2 punches, it broke 2 different barriers. But then every boost had made it where he shatters the next barrier. And the one after that. And then the final one, he straight up hit clean through, which was the strongest of the barriers. As Issei found, right after he shattered the tree, he picked up the stump and struggled but got it out of the ground. He felt unstoppable. He throws the stump as hard as he could. It even hit far past where it was supposed to. He thought he was only aiming at the other big tree, but it actually cracked that big tree, breaking two of the four seals. Great Red and Albion, not Albion, like Ophis, feel this. Great Red, who hasn't shrunk an inch in his whole thing since he was preparing for the reemergence of that bastard existence. And so was Ophis. And they were ready to kill this thing. Like, they wanted it dead if they ever had to see it again. Issei picks up the blue shoe, the blue boot, gauntlet, like not gauntlet, but like boot that would go around his shoe. He's looked at it, kind of looks like medieval armor, putting it on as it started just getting under his, it went under his skin, appeared, and he could hear Apocalypse, he could hear existence speaking to him, saying, "Ha ha ha, you know, boy, you're now under my control, Drake," looking Drake dead in the eye as they were about to clash again. They hated each other, yeah, but they were about to literally kill each other. But they didn't know if they physically could. Drake knew, even if Apocalypse was out of practice for all these years, he probably was still far stronger than Drake may be at the moment or anywhere soon. But not giving up, Drake decided, like I said, not giving up, Drake decided to fight against the Dragon God. Ready to fight, but this is when Issei, who didn't even know the struggle that was happening, seeing Drake get it, not knowing Drake was literally getting his ass beat, protecting Issei from existence, Apocalypse's gear was calling him. He grabbed it. Like, he grabbed the tree and ripped it out the ground with one pull, shattering the other barriers and the tree itself. Picking up the other boot, putting it on, and turning it back on as well, instantly, as he now had a green and blue one. This is when he felt a pull towards this last tree. He walked forward, boots on, and every step, there was a battle inside of his head he didn't even know about. It was beyond a fight. It was literally deciding existence. This is when, final person, he grabs this giant black gear, which these are all in their smaller stages, which means they're like barely about wristband level, a little bit above that on his ankle. Then because he barely gets on, like, this is when he finally grabs the other gauntlet, the one that looks a little bit more like the critical overgear, but pitch black with a red dot in the middle. Issei puts it on. This is when, after 10 minutes each one, he got the second variation, not knowing how to turn these off. But he figured out, he didn't know how to turn these off, but he felt stronger. One of his wings protruded out of his back, a pitch black one, which matched eternity. But existence wasn't letting that happen, as a pitch blue one appeared as well. Even after these two wings appear, that wasn't all, as a red one would appear next. And then, a complete green one. Noting that he had now got like 4 colored wings, and then 2 pairs of devil wings popped out. He didn't even care that he had 6 wings. This is when Issei started going berserk. He had zero control over his own body as he went into his mindscape. No one had control over his body. It stood there, gears on, looking pissed. No one knows why, because he was full of rage. Issei knew why. He was pissed that he died, and he didn't know what the fuck's going on. He's pissed that no one's telling him what's happening. He's pissed that no one will explain to him why him. Why does he feel this burning pain in his chest? And why is there no one there to teach him what to do? What's happening? As he went almost berserk, not Juggernaut Drive or anything, just being standing there, but every tree within like a 2-meter radius would start to blow up. And you remember thinking, how far Issei was from the town? Well, he was about 4 miles. He was running as fast as possible and was doing it for a few hours. He was a good bit of miles from the town, and this is when his parents are starting to get really worried about him. Rias is worrying about him because that's her new pawn, and she still needs Issei to exist, and this is when she feels the immense power that felt like Issei's, but a little bit different. She refused to go over there. It was almost as strong as her brother, Sir Zex, at full power. In his true super devil form, which has never been stated, which has never been seen unless it was just him showing off. It's never been seen truly in a battle, at least not while Rias was alive. This is when she feels this power. It's on par with her brother's, if not above it. She called her brother. Sona called her sister. And they both wound up calling, the other demon kings. The demon kings calling Michael and Azazel to come as well. Michael straight up called for the other archangels to come with him. And Azazel called the entirety of the fallen angel generals. All of them arrive, and they were terrified of what they felt. They were in Kuo, but the power they felt was above that of what they were expecting. The being has returned. The true dragon gods. They weren't supposed to appear for years, restating how they must have taken over her pawn, as this is when Issei is in his mindscape. While they're having this conversation, Tan and all the other dragons would appear. Even Great Red and Ophis would appear right behind them. Ophis in human form, getting along with Great Red. Noting she still kind of owed him one for what he did against, existence. This is when you hear loud, thunderous cracks around the city. Thinking it was just some lightning storm or something. The civilians didn't think of anything. They know there was a little bit of an earthquake, but it wasn't something crazy. This was almost 50 miles away from Kuo. The entire town of Kuo, the closest part of it was 50 miles away from Issei. This is when all of the devils all the kings, devils, dragons, everyone there was scared. Even Great Red was terrified. This power was beyond his capability to handle. Since it kept climbing, it started off at Sir's X level. And that was at 1% of it. Then it shot up all the way to Great Red level. And that was 10%. It keeps increasing. This is more than the dragon gods. This is the rage beyond dragons. This makes Apocalypse look like a good day, like a dream day. This makes Existence's power look like a fart in the wind. It's like nothing. I know I just used another YouTuber's thing. Captain Sauce's kind of thing. But still, it's basically that. As the loud, thunderous crack appeared. This is when Akino saw her father. Her father, surprised that she's alive, says, Akino? This is when Azazel said, look, I'm sorry to interrupt the family reunion, but we've got bigger fish to fry. Look, there's a beast out there strong enough to make all of us look like a fucking joke. And I highly doubt it's stopping here. It keeps growing in power, so I think it's going to keep going. It's not stopped yet, so I don't think we're good. He's only at 50%, and he's already making the entirety of everything shake beneath his feet. He's even making, everyone in existence scared. And at this point, everyone in existence has no clue what's going on. This power is beyond their comprehension. The only one who can even sense it is Great Red. And that's because Issei's gears are feeding off of his rage. This is when Ophis would actually say, we have to stop this. It's going to end everything at this rate. This is beyond what we did, and we had help last time. You think we can handle him now? I feel that's not just him. What? I felt all seals break, but I don't think this is just some joke. We can't handle this. None of us can. All of us wouldn't be able to scratch this thing. Zeus, Odin, the entirety of the Egyptian factions knew. Every single faction appeared. No matter what religion they were from, they were there. The nine-tailed fox appeared even. They were all there. At Kuo. Almost at this big area. This is when they all stated, even if we lose this fight, we can't just give up. Restating how this power started out being on Issei's level. And that was beneath even Konako. this is when the three fallen angels would appear right behind Kokobeel, saying how this power was beyond anything they've ever felt before. That's right. Everyone was shaken. Rainier feared that this was the same boy that she killed, thinking if he sees her, she's dead. His rage is starting to spike even more, as he hit 90%, and this was power that not even Great Red could feel. It was beyond him, like beyond everything he's ever felt. It makes the entirety of existence look like a joke, as this is when it's like everything in the multiverse is trying to kill them. It's like 100 apocalypses are attacking them. It's 100, as it keeps climbing, it's like 100 eternities. Then it's like 100 existences. There's no way of handling this. They're terrified. This is when their power vanishes. They couldn't exactly tell the limit of it, but they could feel that it was there. Now, they don't feel where it is. They feel it right behind them. They look at a Issei that looks just like this, looking them right in the eyes, saying, "Great Red," in Existence's voice, thinking, oh shit, he got taken over. But what is this? As they see the boosting gear, Volley is about to try swinging when he's stopped right in his tracks by his grandfather, who said, "Stop! That's suicide." Basically shitting himself while watching the power of Issei spike up and up and up. As Issei walked forward saying, "Ophis." That wasn't existence. That was apocalypse. And then hearing, "Everyone," in the voice of what was it? There was existence, there was apocalypse, and there was eternity. Yes, in the voice of eternity, hearing, "Everyone." And then, in the voice of Drake, you hear, "Ha ha ha. True boost." And this is all coming from Issei's mouth, not the gears. Then hearing Issei's voice saying, "I'm back." Them terrified. Did they all merge or some shit? What the fuck? This is when everything stops. Because Gasper came out of his area. He was so scared, he wanted to go to Rias. Now, no one knows what the fuck's going on. The entire Phoenix family is too scared to get out of bed. Like, they're literally quaking in bed. That will have a chance later. This is when Issei walked forward and said, "Rias Grammary." So Zek's actually standing between them, thinking he knows it's suicide. Even attempting a swing at this guy would kill him. This is when Surzek said, "Fuck it. If I die protecting my sister, damn it, I'll do it." As he roared forward and actually hit Issei with all of destruction magic he had, which would have taken out at least one of Great Red's limbs, just for it to have no effect on Issei. Issei turned his head, and almost demonic cracking being heard, saying, "Sir Zex, you dare strike me?" Noting that was everything he had, and it didn't even leave a scratch on this thing. Issei pointed at Sir Zex, and Sir Zex flew into the wall, not dead, but quite injured. This is when Great Red said, "Fuck it. Full power. Dream dimension." This made the entire area around them turn into like a dreamscape, where anything was possible as long as you imagined it possible. This is when, going in Issei's head, Issei straight up said, kicking Great Red out. Great Red being basically collapsed on the ground, foaming at the mouth after the pain he just felt. Ophis feeling like infinity may not do anything, but surrounding Issei and snakes. Issei said, "Oh." Grabbing the venom of these things, and sprang into his mouth, saying, "Oh, it's so good to be back." As this is when he was lit ablaze by all the dragon's breath that surrounded him, as it burned his clothes to ashes, being completely naked, saying, "Oh, why'd you have to do that, little dragons? Don't I get to have at least a little bit of fun now that I'm back in existence?" Spitting out a little bit of blood, Issei looks down at everyone, and then hears, "Whatever. Rias Grimmery." Rias basically terrified, saying, "Yes, Issei?" Shaking in her boots, Issei simply says, "Are you my new master?" Rias confused, saying, "Yes." "Let's change that." "What do you mean?" "I will never serve you." This is when Issei straight up says, "I won't serve you, but I will protect you." As this is when every single gear vanishes, and Issei's smile appears, saying, "Oh, by the way, everyone, y'all should know that those weird gears are strong as shit." Confusing everyone why the fuck he just straight up seemed terrifying as shit. Now he's just kind of happy, even a little perverted. This is when Issei said, "By the way," as all the dragons' voices rung out, saying, "Yeah, that hurt," all being in immense pain. Confused on what the fuck was going on, Issei simply states, "It was a battle inside my mind." What? "It was a battle of willpower. Drake kind of had the highest one there, but even his was nothing compared to my wrath." Being terrified, Suzek said, "Wait, so I attacked you for no reason, you stupid fucker?" Basically being called stupid by the literal definition of, "Oh shit, that's power." This is when Issei simply just looks at Great Red and actually powers him back up to his full health. Great Red standing up, saying, "What the hell?" Ophis, who is still shaking in her boots, has the voice of eternity speaking to her, and Apocalypse. "We're sorry, Ophis. We'd love to go back with you, but we can't. We need to make sure existence doesn't try taking over Issei again. If he does, and he somehow succeeds, by some chance, no one will exist but him." With this being almost as tears came out of Issei's eyes, Issei stating how he was kind of tied to them. If they were crying, he would be crying. It wouldn't really have a choice. Hearing this, Ophis wiped away the tears, and actually, as if it was actually them, kissed Issei on the mouth, and said, "It's alright, honey. Do what you have to. Just, everything will be okay." This is when existence said something that was kind of fucked up. "Well, finally you're willing to kiss me." This is when Issei straight said something to existence. "Existence, silence, or you will be silenced forever." Existence, knowing if this fucking thing attacks him, he's done forever, says, "Yes, sir," and basically being silent the rest of the night. I am Issei Hyoda. It's a pleasure to meet you all. One question, though. Yes? Why did y'all all show up with weapons? You don't see me with a weapon, do you? This is when Michael did something kind of smart. He gave Issei the sword. Already. Then saying, "Wait, you have to prove you can earn this blade." In this version, Kokobeel was too scared to go to whatever the power source was, so he hid. Straight up telling Michael, straight up telling Azazel, "I'm not going over there. That crazy fucking power could kill me. Fuck you. That's a war I'm backing from." And this is the same guy who thought God was weak. Straight up crazy as shit. Issei, who's absolutely outclasses this, doesn't really care what's going on, and just gets hungry, making himself a sandwich. This is when actually asking Akano, "Hey, Akano, is there any tea?" Akino saying, yes? Okay, cool, could I get some? Yes, how would you like it? Anything, really. This is when Akino thinks, if I mess up this tea, he's going to kill me. I'm dead, I don't know what to do. This is when Grafia, who's used to making tea for high, official people, says, I'll help you, don't worry. Shitting herself on the inside, saying, he's gonna kill us all, he's gonna kill us all, he's gonna kill us all. Every instinct in every woman, in every body there, was run as fast as you can. But their legs wouldn't let them. But every woman, their instincts was a little different. While it was saying, run away, another part of it said, come close, enjoy yourself, we can have fun. And this is going to be an 18+ video, off the sheer fact it does get a little, fucked up. Because Issei still's got the whole, demon mode. Like, this is what it's going to look like. As Issei straight breathed out a sigh of relief, saying, it's really good, thank you. Bringing all the tea and setting it down on the plate. Well, I'm gonna go home. I'm tired. As he passed right in front of everyone. And this is when Great Red said, I'll see his dream. His dreamscape just being filled of him with women's breasts. This is when they start laughing hysterically. And everyone's surprised that Drake is laughing. I mean, not Drake. Great Red is laughing hysterically. They're saying, what's so funny? We almost died. the boy's dream. Basically showing it like a movie to everyone. Everyone in existence that was powerful enough, straight just upside down saying, what the fuck? Even Loki's standing there like, this boy's gonna cause more mischief than I did. That's my whole shit. As this is when Issei straight up would wake up. Would not wake up, he would kind of jolt in his sleep and scare everyone. But they look at his dream and what his hands are doing. They're squeezing boobs. More specifically, Rias's boobs. Sir Zex noting, if I try stopping him, I'm dead, I'm so fucking dead. Rias saying, if that's what he wants to do, I don't mind. Surprising everyone by hearing this, saying, what? Grafia even seeing herself in this thing, even the student council president. Noting every girl from the Occult Research Club, even Konako was there. The student council, the Occult president, and then the next one to appear was Ophis. Ophis, who's got the biggest fucking blush on her face. This is when all of these dragon gods said he's seeing all of our dream. He's having a combined want of all of ours. We are sorry, but it's true. This is when they see sheer power exuded from Issei. He does one snore, and it basically sends the entire room 20 feet away from him. Literally everyone in there got sent flying. Other than the women, all the men got sent flying, though. Confusing the shit out of them, saying, what the fuck? As this is when all the women felt like they should go towards him. And almost zombified started walking towards him, just for them to be stopped right in their tracks. When they weren't exactly zombified, they were lustful. Them all being laid the fuck out, saying, look, Rias, I'll leave you to this. Gasper, please go back to your area. Gasper saying, yes, Sir Zex. Basically terrified. As Issei would basically, they would actually get Issei to his house. But he's so exhausted after all the strength he exuded that he's weakened. He's exhausted. He's basically passed the fuck out because he can't hang with that power anymore right now, at least. At least not the power he was using when he first showed up. That was over 100 apocalypses at once, or 100 existences, more like. This is when Issei would decide, I'm going to, this is when all the women would actually grab Issei. Only Rias's peerage, though. The student council wanted to, but they didn't really have the audacity to try it. Maybe Sona and Tsubaki could, but they didn't really have the audacity to either. This is when Issei basically just wakes up that morning with all the women of the Occult Research Club over surrounding him, noting he's had an eventful night, so I guess it wasn't a dream. Cracking his neck, saying, "Guys, come on." All the gears appearing while Issei is completely naked. This is when he said, whatever. As he grabbed himself a towel, wrapping it around his waist, and went to go, take a shower. Even grabbing a pair of his, school clothes to take with him. Once he got there, he showered everything, had all that shit, got out, put on all his clothes, and he was dressed like this, which he thinks they're not going to try stopping me. If they do, I'm kicking them, I'm going to straight up send them flying. Since his strength still holds true, but he lowers it so it wouldn't blow up the entire area around him by a mere breath. As he was this is when that morning, Rias and all of them teleported to the Occult Research Club, but Issei didn't teleport, he felt like just walking it. And this is when he met Assia, and actually helps her. Assia, who didn't sleep through the whole thing, but wasn't scared by it either. She thought it was comforting in a way. This is when Issei would basically help her get to the church. Those three fallen angels shitting themselves thinking, yeah, we fucked. Thinking Issei's power dropped down to a lower level though, since, well, he's back to the strength he was right after being revived as a devil. Them still not going to attack him like idiots because that'd be just suicidal. But this is when that night, Issei gets basically summoned to a contract. He gets there to see a chopped up man that was the one who summoned him. Freed Selzen laughing his ass off, not recognizing Issei, since Issei's in human form, no devil appendages or anything like that. Thinking he's a devil, but I don't know which period he belongs to. It doesn't matter, I'm gonna kill him anyway. Freed goes to stab Issei. Issei's power doesn't show at all, but it breaks. That light blade didn't even touch him, didn't even hurt him. Since he's basically existence itself, killing him is impossible by all means, since, existence itself did die technically, but that took everything and more sealing him away than anything. This is when they note that Issei is berserk. Not berserk, but powerful enough that if he goes berserk, nothing can stop him. But it was only like high rankers who jumped in this fight. This is when Issei actually had asked something. This is when Issei basically told Rias, "Hey Rias, could you do me a favor?" Yes, Issei? I want you to hide that I'm that powerful I want you to tell all of them things, not to tell their, inferiors about it. So I don't want anyone weaker than I don't want anyone who wasn't there last night to know about my power. Okay. Sure. Rias is still kind of terrified of Issei. Issei, who didn't really care. By the way, this is only going to be a part 1, guys, because I still have to, go through so much more. This is when that next day he met Assia again. And this is when Assia would actually, still go on that date with him. And then, when she got taken by Rainier, Issei's pissed. He shows up there telling Rias what he's going to do. Rias not even threatening him, saying, yeah, Kiba Konako, go with him. Kiba and Konako saying, why? We're going to die if we get into his bad side. Then don't get on his fucking bad side. This is when Issei did something unexpected. He's walking there and grabs a piece of he grabbed a chocolate bar that he had in his pocket, since he just got it when he was going to tell Rias. This is when he threw a Konako and said, here, for after the battle. It was dark chocolate, her favorite. She said, thank you, nya. Did she just say nya? What the fuck? Eh, whatever. This is when Issei would simply just use his full force. And one step, shattering the entirety of the church's, force. Walking forward, killing Rainier, taking that gear off of her in this form. With all the gears, though. He looked down at Assia, and actually was about to try bringing her back to life when Rias came in saying, here, putting a bishop piece on her. Issei was happy, but he felt like he should do something. Using his dragon gods, it's multiple dragon gods abilities, he makes it where she will have some abilities that she wouldn't have in canon. She'd be able to pray, she'd be able to worship God, but she would know, because, I'm gonna say some of these creatures know that God is dead, but Issei knows it as well. This is when he actually shares it with her via, speaking in her ear, saying, You do know God of the Bible? He died years ago. I'm sorry to say, but that's partly my fault. He died sealing these three away. Not completely, but most of the way. And then the Devil Kings helped kill him. With tears in his eyes saying, if he didn't do that, he wouldn't have died. Little did Issei know that he would have died anyway, like he died in canon. But this is when Ophis said, wait, well, what? Well, I mean, I am the dragon god. Apocalypse, the dragon god eternity, and the dragon god existence. Wait, so you're three dragon gods? Technically, I'm now dragon god Issei, the strongest god. Being by the title of God, saying how Yahweh, which is God of the Bible, that's his name, by the way, is basically dead, saying, well, then I'll worship you. He can still make miracles and shit happen. This is when Issei, using his full strength, basically appeared at the gates of heaven. These are giant golden gates. They're archways that are glorious, that no one who isn't an angel should ever be allowed in. Issei doesn't care, and he walks right up in there, demon blood and all, walks in there, says, Michael, where are you at? Being that most angels have no fucking clue what this is, they actually were about to go to attack Issei, being stopped right in their tracks when Michael and all the other, archangels would appear and say, Issei, it's good to see you. What can I help you with? This is when Issei did something he wasn't expecting wasn't really planning on doing. He gave Michael a title, a true title, called Half God, giving him some of God's original power, since it was used to seal him away, absorbing just a hair of it, basically amping it up to an actual thing using the boosting gear, making it permanently that much power, making him taking half of the strength of the original God and giving it to Michael. This was the original God at his peak. Then going over to Sir Zex, taking half of the strength of the original four devils, basically taking two of their strength, and giving it to Sir Zex. And doing basically the same thing through every single one of these. With Azazel, he straight up just quadrupled Azazel's strength, since he was kind of the weakest one now. With all of this power now at their disposal, they thought they were tough shit. Issei showing that with one flex of his arms, they were like nothing to him. This is when he walks over to Great Red and Ophis, basically calling them both interdimensional gaps, since they would need to be there for what he's about to do. He gave Great Red this strength to outmatch existence on a straight up even fight, on a 1v1. Doing the same thing for Ophis, but making her just a little bit weaker than Great Red. He was multiplying their powers by percentages, and he used the same percent for each of them, so yeah. This is when they said, what, why? We need stronger dragon gods. Besides, you're still not even a threat to me, so I really don't mind. Noting, now if everyone in existence teamed up on him, they may have a chance. I say may have because it's still on the gambler part, trying to do it. But back to what if. Now this is when Issei would use his actual calmness and sit down for a rest. And this is right before Rias would say, Issei, sleep with me. And yeah, he straight up says, sure. This is still an 18 plus part, so we may as well get some better 18 plus content in here. So yeah, let's go. Rias tries actually sleeping with Issei, and they were actually doing it when Graphia, who was terrified of Issei, tries to step in. She would usually grab whoever was sleeping with Rias by the neck, kick him in the dick or something. This is when she noted she was about to swing and stopped, thinking it's suicide to try that. Saying, Issei, would you please stop? This is when saying, but it was Rias' choice. I know, but she's engaged. Who? You know what? I'll just let you keep doing it. This is when Rias had basically said, no, Graphia. You have to see that I'm doing this. You have to be able to fully report. This is when Graphia actually sat down at the chair next to Issei's bed. This is when Issei actually offered something to Graphia that Graphia was struggling to refuse. Would you like to join in, Graphia? Graphia actually accepting, and then strips down completely naked. They have their fun for about 4 hours, taking turns between the two. Issei saying, alright, so what's going on? This is when saying we need to tell Akino and all that shit. Akino basically just waking the fuck up early as shit since school, the day's about to begin. Issei basically ramping both of them as if they got a full night's rest and not able to do it to himself since he could basically stay awake for 7 years straight and still be alright. Not really a big deal to him. Back to this. This is when Issei would straight up just say, alright, that's good. Now, let's go. And he wanted to be there just to see what happens, saying how everything's going on. Issei saying, oh, this is going to be fun. Thinking he was going to beat the shit out of Riser. Oh, this is when everyone had said, sure. But this is when Issei said, by the way, I need y'all to hide my strength. Huh? He lowered it down to the level he was barely strong enough to be considered a threat to Riser's weakest pawn. He's stronger than he was in canon, I'll give him that, but that's it. That's the point of power he shows. Because the rest of it is hidden. Basically hiding so much strength, even the best detecting couldn't find it. But if he was to even flex his arm, and if he wanted to show it, he could. But this is when we get to see something unexpected. We get to see a very, very, very pissed off dragon. Well, not dragon, Phoenix, go in there. Riser thinking he's tough shit. Seeing Issei, basically this is where we're going to leave off, guys. And that's the end of part 1 to what if Issei had the power of 3 dragon gods.